Welcome back to another episode of All It Takes No Whiffs podcast. I'm Alex, and that's Christian, and we are back with some baseball this week. Super excited to be back for some baseball. I think it's been almost a month since we've had a baseball episode, which is kind of wild. But before we get started and get into it, make sure y'all make sure y'all subscribe, and make sure y'all turn on notifications to know when we post new content. Because we are going to be posting a lot more here soon. We're probably going to be branching out into some stuff, so make sure y'all like and subscribe.
Greatest offseason ever. I have my reasons, but just objectively insane, and I really cannot wait to get into this. I know I made a bold claim in the intro saying greatest offseason ever, but for me it is. There was a lot on the line, a whole lot on the line. The Yankees baseball would have been boring as shit if this didn't happen, but Aaron Judge is back. He re-signed with the Yankees for a 9-year, $360 million deal, 40 mil a season. He got that bag, and as expected, no, it wasn't expected. I was very nervous that he was about to leave, but it's just wild. He got this much money. He turned down more money. From the San Diego Padres. And I'm pretty sure the Giants offered him something big too. But the San Diego Padres offered him for one more year, a $400 million contract. But pretty sure AAV wise, the Yankees is worth more. So Aaron Judge made the right choice. Stayed with the better team, even though the Padres have something cooking up. And honestly, it's not really a great time to gas up the Yankees. We're coming off a disappointing postseason, but we got Aaron Judge back. So we're going to be back in that postseason. I feel like he's that much of a difference maker. If he wasn't there for us leading the way, we're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what you've been going through this offseason, not knowing if your star player is going to return. Because, I mean, this is arguably top 3, top 4, top 5 player in baseball right now. And we knew he was going to want a lot of money. The years is what was going to be kind of tricky around this. Judge is kind of older, which I didn't realize that. So he'll probably will be a Yankee for life now.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing we got to talk about, and I think you already know where I'm going with this, dude.
Hate this
The
guy.
whole social media fiasco that went over this. John Heyman, I think he's a MLB Network insider. He botched this completely, and honestly, I don't know how he's still an insider for MLB because, first off, this dude called him Arson Judge instead of Aaron Judge, and he said he was going to the San Francisco Giants prematurely. In Christian, what I want to hear your thoughts about this
Not gonna lie.
before we move on to more of it.
Yeah, not gonna lie. I did not initially see the arson judge thing. I saw that going on, like people talking about that after. I saw the Giants thing first. I was at work and my heart sunk, and I was just like, "Oh God, it's over. It's over." I was just about to curl up into a ball in the middle of my job and call it a life, I guess. But no, John Heyman sucks at his job, luckily. And about 15 minutes later, I saw that he made an error, and I was still all right, even though it was cleared up that he wasn't on the Giants at that point. I was still pretty pessimistic about him going back to the Yankees if things were that close that a reporter felt the need to put it out, even if it was a little too soon. Yeah, so I thought Judge is gone still. Not gonna lie. So I was a little sad for a while, and then I'm pretty sure it was. I don't think it was the same day. I think it was the
It was the
next
day
day.
after. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the next day, Aaron Judge resigns with the Yankees, and I didn't see that news from John Heyman. Thank goodness. So I felt like I could actually see that and run with it. Like, okay, this is real.
It's
But
legit.
yeah, it's legit. John Heyman isn't legit, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just thought that whole thing was super funny, to be honest. know if you're a Giants fan or a Yankees fan that you are heated, but if you're a Giants fan right now, I
Yeah.
can't even imagine how you feel right now. I mean, I would be absolutely pissed. John Heyman, he would be blocked on every single social media account I have. I mean, that was crazy, dude. If he would have said the Braves had signed him, I would have been. First off, I would have been freaking surprised as hell. But and
Yeah.
then 15 minutes later, retracted and say he's not going there. Nah, I mean, I would have freaking cried.
Man, regardless, that was an emotional roller coaster. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, the thing that sucked is that like he tweeted it out at like 8 something in the morning. I was at work. I was still tired. I was like, oh, what the hell?
This
But
is gonna ruin the rest of my day.
yeah, but John Heyman,
Find a new job.
find a new job, or if you want to bounce back, try that. But the hill you got to climb. Goddamn, that shit's this deep.
Yeah, I mean, he is a well-respected baseball journalist, but I mean, he had one mess up, and it was just really funny, to be honest.
It
But
was.
across the street in Queens, you have the New York Mets just balling out this year in the offseason. They are over the luxury tax right now. They're gonna have to pay extra money. But they're trying to get the guys they want, and they spent the most money ever for a reliever. And Edwin Diaz, they re-signed him for 5 years and $102 million. Now, this is a massive deal for a reliever. Um, the previous high was Aroldis Chapman at 86.5 million, so this exceeds that by pretty much 16 million. But if Edwin Diaz can pitch like he did this past season, he's well worth all that money. But all that inconsistencies kind of has me questioning this. It is the Mets too. You never really know with them. But uh, Christian, what do you think about the Mets re-signing Edwin Diaz?
I think it's good that they re-signed him. He was definitely going to be commanding a lot of money after the
Mm-hmm.
season he had. He had an insane season, and it was the top name by far on the reliever market. And they did what they had to do. They paid a lot of money, but I think they made the right choice. The Mets definitely want to stay competitive. They've lost a piece or two, but they've definitely made the right moves to stay afloat, in my opinion. And this is definitely one of them. One of the key moves, actually.
Yeah, and they wasted no time on this move either. This literally happened the day after the World Series was complete. So they weren't messing around with Edwin Diaz, and they got this deal done real quick.
Hell yeah! And Edwin Diaz, I think, to be honest with you, I can't recall how old he is off the top of my head, but um, I think 5 years is a good amount of time that yeah, maybe a decline could start, but it's not going to be like they've got to deal with too much of like a declined Edwin Diaz. Say it starts happening like year 3 or 4. It's just 1 or 2 more years after that. So I think they definitely didn't overpay in the sense of years actually. So I think it's a good contract on both sides.
Yeah, I definitely think that too. And not sure how old Edwin Diaz is either, but I mean, 5-year deal isn't that long, so this dude could get another big check eventually. Which I'm all for these players. But Edwin Diaz re-signs with the New York Mets. Really good signing for them. Um, Not really too much more to talk about it. The Mets have done a lot of signings this offseason, and we'll be getting into a few more of those here in a minute. But to get onto another little transaction this offseason, the first trade of this offseason, really, I don't know if it was the first trade, but the first major trade. We had the Seattle Mariners traded for Teoscar Hernandez from the Toronto Blue Jays, and they got back left-handed pitcher Adam Mako, who's a prospect, and right-handed pitcher Eric Swanson, who's a reliever and is actually turning into one of the elite relievers, looking at his sabermetrics and everything. So this is a really good trade for both sides, in my opinion. Hernandez is bringing a lot of power to that lineup and solid defense to the outfield. And the Blue Jays got what they needed in a pretty good reliever. Their bullpen has been kind of mid of the pack in the league. So this is a really good addition, and they've made some other additions to make some room in that outfield. So that's why they got rid of Hernandez. So this is a really good trade, in my opinion, for both teams.
I would have to agree. I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely surprised initially because I definitely thought the Blue Jays' plan involved Teoscar Hernandez being in that core, but I guess not. They did what they had to do to address a weak point, like you said. Their bullpen never really stood out, and Eric Swanson, I think that could be a huge plus if he stays on the trajectory that he's on. So, like you said, this is a good move, no doubt. Speaking of trades, though, another really interesting trade was the Arizona Diamondbacks picking up Kyle Lewis, and Seattle's involved with this trade again. They picked up Hummel. I'm guessing, yeah, Hummel. He's a catcher, and interesting move because Kyle Lewis. I remember just a couple of years ago he was considered the young guy on Seattle, and that's very quickly shifted to Julio. And Kyle Lewis has become expendable. Uh, he's definitely was a solid piece for Seattle. I feel like he had a solid tenure for them, but Seattle making the moves that they feel like they need to make progress, and I kind of feel bad for Kyle Lewis. I'm not gonna lie to you. He is with the Diamondbacks now. No, at least he knows that he gets off of work early. Doesn't have to work in October.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Lewis, I mean, he was, I think it was 2020 AL Rookie of the Year. I know he
Mhm.
won AL Rookie of the Year. I'm not sure quite year it was, but this dude was a top 5 draft pick. He's actually from around where me and Christian live, so we actually know a lot about him. He's actually not too much older than myself, so um, I would really question this trade at first, but then after the offseason has kind of moved on, I understand why they moved on from Kyle Lewis. He didn't live up to their expectations. He's been hurt. He missed majority of last season and was hurt in 2021 for a little bit too. So um, I guess they kind of just wanted to move on from him. They got some new pieces in the outfield now. And I mean, the guy they got in this trade, Cooper Hummel, I mean, he's just an MLB journeyman. I really don't know what more to say than that, but this dude's just a below average player. He's just kind of there to fill that backup catcher spot for them.
And to be honest with you, I get that they'd probably want to move on from this rocky road that Kyle Lewis has been on with health and everything like that. But dang, journeyman, journeyman for Kyle Lewis, I feel like that's a little disrespectful. Kyle Lewis, definitely, I want him to show out now in Arizona and lead them to a World Series. Just kidding, that's not going to happen. But
That would be super wild if that happened, to be honest. I mean, if Arizona even sniffed the playoffs this year, I'd be surprised. Or this
bro,
upcoming season.
if they were in the race by the All Star break, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't see that happening. But move on to another trade, and this team has been super busy in trades this offseason. Seattle has made another trade earlier this offseason. They got Colton Wong from the Milwaukee Brewers for outfielder and DH Jesse Winker. And I wouldn't really call this guy an infielder. I'd more call him like a super utility guy in Abraham Toro. Um, but this is a real interesting trade, to be honest, because Milwaukee Brewers, they've kind of sold off some of their guys, and I really don't know why. Not really their main big guys, but some of their smaller pieces. So it's been kind of interesting. But Seattle, I mean, they're about to have about 5 new starters on their roster next year. So it's a really good pickup for them. Colton Wong, Gold Glove second baseman, going to get on base a lot. I mean, Milwaukee Brewers got Jesse Winker, who really only hits dingers, and don't really know too much about Toro. Besides, he's a really good defender. So I really couldn't give a grade for this trade. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But what do you think about this, Christian?
I don't have too much thoughts on this. Jesse Winker going to Milwaukee, that could be a plus for their lineup, but
They need some power, actually.
they do. They've got pitching on lock. That's for sure.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a nice thing to address. But Colton Wong, really solid baseball player. I definitely respect Colton Wong and his play style, and that's a plus for the Mariners in a leadership role as well too. Colton Wong, I feel like has the experience and just like the way he plays. I think he could definitely be of influence to a lot of younger guys. So I think that's it's definitely a good move.
Yeah, and I definitely think it is an upgrade from Adam Frazier. I know that they traded for Adam Frazier at the beginning of last season and had high expectations for him, and he just didn't live up to them. So I'm not really too sure what their plans are with him. I actually think he may have been a free agent. I'm not quite sure, but um, I think Colton Wong is definitely an upgrade from Adam Frazier at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. And honestly, speaking of upgrades, though, this other trade coming up, the Angels made a move. I feel like. I know we said pitching has been their main issue, but they picked up a solid bat. You got Hunter Renfroe from the Milwaukee Brewers. They gave up Jansen Junk, Elvis Peguero, and Adam Seminaris.
3 prospects.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pat myself on the back. That last one wasn't easy. Um, But yeah, three pitchers, but prospects. These weren't guys that were making an impact now for the Angels, so it's not really a blow in that sense, even though they need pitching. But definitely a solid bat and a really solid arm in the outfield. Not necessarily the best defender, I guess, when it comes to tracking fly balls, but his arm
It's ridiculous.
plus arm. So I think that's a huge pickup for the Angels, to be honest with you. Nice little neighbor for Mike Trout now.
Yeah, this is gonna bring some more power to an already pretty powerful lineup. Honestly, don't really know how they pulled this off with 3 pitching prospects because their pitching is not very good and their bullpen's not very good, but, Milwaukee must have saw something that they liked out of these guys, so, Hunter Renfroe, I mean, I think he's been traded, I think, 4 or 5 times the past 6 years, so, this dude just been moving around, but everywhere he's been solid. I think he's hit 25 plus homers, maybe even 30 for the past 4 or 5 years. I know when he was with the Padres, he kind of struggled a bit. He went to Tampa, picked it up a bit. And then when he was with Boston, he really came through. And then last year with Milwaukee, he was doing the same stuff. So this guy's been around the league. He's been in here a while. And it's another solid addition to this Angels team who I would love to see in the playoffs.
I would love to see them in the playoffs as well, and I like to see them making the moves that they feel like they need to do to make the playoffs. But I don't know if it's gonna happen. I hate to say it, but hopefully Mike Trout makes the playoffs and Shohei Ohtani and the rest of the Angels, but mainly
If
those two.
Shohei's still an Angel.
True, that'll be wild, but we got
That's
that
a
to look
different
forward
that's a
to.
different conversation for another day, though.
Yeah, but back to free agency moves. This was a wild one right here. The Houston Astros, the 2022 World Series champions, picking up Jose Abreu on a really good deal too, because that's a former MVP. I know it was the 2020 season, but
This dude
former
can hit.
MVP, yeah. And I'm pretty sure Yuli Gurriel is a free agent, and to be honest with you, this is an upgrade. Even though Yuli Gurriel is a franchise guy, definitely came through for them in clutch moments. I think Jose Abreu is a better hitter. And honest, glove wise, I would have to give the edge to Gurriel, but it's not a huge downgrade on that, and you're upgrading the bat. So really solid pickup for Houston, and another bat in that lineup that'll make it real tough pitching to them.
And I think with this move, we will see Yordan Alvarez as the DH, which I am super happy for because they can put someone else out there in the outfield, which I know they have signed someone else, and we'll probably be getting into that either later or in a different episode. But I really like this signing for Houston. The rich just get richer, to be honest. I mean, this is one of the best first basemen in all of baseball. He's really underrated, to be honest, because he's been on a team that's been mediocre since he's been over here. Um, probably will be his last deal, to be honest. He's 36, 37 years old, so he may end up being in Houston for the rest of his career, which is probably honestly why he signed here, because he wants a championship. And he came to the right team to do it. This is a really good signing for Houston, and Jose Abreu is just one of the most underrated first basemen in all the league. His glove is not very good, but that bat is really, really good.
Hmm. Yeah. So Houston, definitely going to be a scary team to look forward to as usual. But for the AL West, they just got a name that best pitcher in baseball. That's all I really have to say. Jacob DeGrom signs to the Texas Rangers for 5 years, $185 million. There was some talks about Texas being in the mix early on in this DeGrom free agency fiasco, and they pulled the trigger pretty quick. They secured the best pitcher in baseball, and interesting move because the Rangers they're making moves to try to be competitive. They picked up Simeon and Seager last year, and you got DeGrom this season. I still think not Houston. Houston's good. The Rangers, the Rangers, they still need to fill out a few things. I feel like before they're actually competitive, but they're making the right steps. They got the star power now, without a doubt.
Oh no, yeah, and I mean they got the best pitcher in baseball, like you said, hands down. This actually could go up to a 6th year, and I think 227 million. There's an opt out for a 6th year, so it just makes the contract even bigger. One thing that I learned about this whole Jacob DeGrom free agency thing is that he literally told his agent to not contact the Mets at all. And when I saw that, I was very surprised, to be honest. He had no contact with the Mets, and that kind of seems why he didn't. They didn't even offer him, from what I read too. So, um, Texas was kind of where he wanted to be the entire time. I think I'm not sure where he's from, but he wanted to be in Texas. He sees some potential there. I see it too, to be honest. They have a pretty solid rotation. They have another guy who we'll talk about a little later that they added, who was really good at the end of last year. But I mean, the Rangers have the best pitcher in baseball as long as he stays healthy.
Without a doubt, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's the future for the Rangers because remember back when we were younger, the Rangers were competitive around 2010, making a World
Two
Series,
World
a
Series in
couple
a
couple
row.
World Series, yeah. And it's been a while since then, and a whole lot of mid since then. So it'd be interesting. It'd be nice to see them get back into the mix. But speaking of a team that's in the mix, a team that was in the World Series last year made a huge move. The
Big time.
Philadelphia Phillies signed the best shortstop in baseball, Trey Turner, to a deal that broke the shortstop market, to be honest with you, because Trey, I feel like Trey Turner is an amazing player. I personally think he's worth close to, if not actually worth that 300 million. But the fact that he got that, there's another shortstop that we'll be discussing shortly that got a contract that I'm just like, wow, I don't think he deserved that at all. But to stay on Trey Turner, this is huge for the Phillies. Huge. Trey Turner does everything. To be honest with you, he's I would say slightly above average to elite at everything that he does. He's got elite speed, elite contact, really solid power. The glove is probably his weak point, but his speed makes up for it. Trey Turner does everything, and the Phillies, they're close. They have a couple. They already have a couple of star-studded names, but adding Trey Turner to this, maybe filling out another gap or two, Philly could be right back to the World Series next year. Even though I know they got to deal with your Braves, but Philly's looking good. This is a real solid move for them.
Yeah, I mean they don't just got to deal with us. I mean the Mets and Phillies have done a lot more than we've done this offseason. I can tell you that. But to like you were saying earlier, I don't think Trey Turner's worth 300 million. Even though everything you said about him, he's elite at almost everything he does. I was expecting him to sign around a 225 to 250, at most 250.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect this, and the crazy thing is the Padres offered 42 million more. and he didn't take that. So, I mean, uh, Philly is overpaying for some of their free agents. There's another guy later in this episode who we're going to talk about who we think they overpaid for too. I don't know if Christian thinks they overpaid for Trey Turner. You
Uh,
do?
no,
A
it's
little bit?
slightly. I honestly would have thought that he could have gotten up to like 280.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that, and that's what the other guy who we're going to talk about later is, but
Which is he's not no
crazy
Trey
too.
Turner. He's
Yeah.
not no Trey Turner, but yeah.
But I mean, Philly got their guy, and he's probably gonna be a Philly the rest of his career. He's 29 years old. He'll be 40 by the time this deal is over. So Trey Turner will be a Philly for the rest of his career, it looks like.
Yeah, and really interested in what their lineup's going to be looking like. I've seen some projected things. Uh, Trey Turner at 2 is what I saw projected for them because they would have Schwarber leading off. I guess they're going with that style, even though I feel like Trey Turner is like everything you want out of a leadoff hitter. That's my
Hmm.
opinion. But I'd like to see how that works for them. I think he is going to end up at that leadoff slot sooner or later.
Yeah, and they're not gonna have Bryce Harper for the first half of the season either. So their lineup won't even be at full strength until after the All-Star break, probably. Which sucks because Bryce Harper had Tommy John surgery. That's why. But Um, it's gonna be a scary team. This is gonna be one hell of a division race in the NL East. And speaking of the NL East, we have honestly, I did not see this guy signing with the New York Mets, but Justin Verlander signed a 2-year, $86 million deal with the New York Mets. This really surprised me. I figured he would have stayed with Houston. So Christian, what do you think about this deal?
First and foremost, I think it's really dope that there's a reunion. Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer leading a rotation again on the same team. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen that since the early 2010s on the Tigers. But both of those guys went through a lot and succeeded and accomplished a lot of things since then. And they're back together as a 1-2 combo. Really interesting to me. But Verlander got the freaking bag, yo. Like, what?
43 a year. That's
What?
crazy.
And honestly, I was seeing a lot of people saying that, oh, why would you pay a guy that's this old that much money? I see the
Look
risk.
what he did last year.
I see the risk, but at the same time, he just won the Cy Young, and this is
And a
Justin
World
Verlander.
Series.
This is a generationally good pitcher. Um, Justin Verlander to the Mets. That is huge because they did it not too long after DeGrom left. So
Hmm.
yeah, you lost the best pitcher in baseball, but yeah, you picked up probably the second or third best pitcher in baseball who has a better chance of being healthy, to be honest with you, even though he's older. So it's like it's the trade off. It's not even that big of a deal. I feel like the Mets should not even be too upset that they lost a Grom since they just picked up Verlander. So good for the Mets, yeah. Uh, Yankees still better. We're still the New York team. But it's good to see the Mets still trying to stay competitive and Steve Cohen spending that money.
To come in third place. I digress though. To move on to another team. No, but to move on to a former MVP who is signing a 1-year deal. This guy has kind of fallen off a little bit, but hopefully he can get back on track. But Cody Bellinger signs a 1-year deal with the Chicago Cubs. A lot of teams were interested in Cody Bellinger. I was kind of hoping he would go to Toronto so he would be on a more playoff team, but um, I guess this is going to be more of a bounce back season for him so he can get a long-term contract after this next season.
Yeah, it's definitely wild to see Cody Bellinger, former MVP, not even making 20 mil. Um, Obviously, based off his play of as of late since that MVP season, this is what he's worth. This is a high ball maybe for what he's worth. But yeah, this is really insane. This man at one point was a premier player in this league and has gotten to this point, but he's still young. I think he still has time to bounce back, to be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes for Cody Bellinger. But it kind of feels like a last stand, like did he really lose the mojo? I guess we'll find out this year. and less pressure with the Cubs. So I feel like that'll be a difference maker. Other than that, though, I don't really have too much to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is just gonna be a big test year for Cody Bellinger. Is he still got it or not? It's one of the biggest drop offs, honestly, I've seen out of a player in any sport. So this is just. I know it's been really frustrating for him, probably, but I really hope he can get back on track because this was a top 10 player in baseball just 2 years ago, even three. So hopefully
Yeah,
he can get back on track.
yeah. Cody Bellinger's on his Teofimo Lopez stuff. Do I still got it? But yeah, no, I personally would love to see Cody Bellinger bounce back, but
Mhm.
we've been saying it for a while now. There's been a lot of time, and he really hasn't. So realistically, I don't know if that's something to hold on to. But enough of Cody Bellinger. Uh, Another outfielder that signed to the San Francisco Giants, but not the one that they wanted. The Giants got Mitch Haniger for a solid deal too, in my opinion. 4 years, $43.5 million. That's really not paying much at all. And Mitch Haniger is a recognizable name. Had a decent tenure with Seattle, I feel like. And yeah, the Giants, they don't have Aaron Judge. That's my main takeaway from this. Because I remember I think they picked up Haniger
The same day that
this
Heyman
Heyman.
fucked up the
Yeah,
tweet, yeah.
same day. So it's like everybody was like, "Oh my god, look how stacked our outfield is now." Yeah, look.
Nah,
Yeah,
nah,
look.
nah.
Look.
Well,
I mean,
hey,
Henniker's a solid
it
player.
would have been a pretty good outfield because they Jock signed a qualifying offer at the
Mm,
beginning of the offseason. So you would have had Judge, Haniger, and Jock. I mean, that defense is terrible, but I mean, that
Judge
would
a
have
good
been.
defender, but
I'm not Judge, Jock, and Haniger. No, but Haniger is a solid signing for them. 4 years, 43.5. Not that bad of a deal for someone who's got some pretty solid pop. Like we said, he's not the best defender in the world. They could put him at DH for a little bit if they wanted to. But I do like this signing. I thought it was really funny, like Christian, like we just talked about, because this came out literally not too long after the Aaron Judge fiasco. So this made the whole entire baseball Twitter and social media world really funny for about 45 minutes.
yeah, it definitely did, and it's interesting that Mitch Haniger's name got tied into that. But outside of that whole fiasco, I don't really have too much to say about this. I don't think he really puts the Giants over the edge or anything like that. So yeah, he's with the Giants now. But remember that guy that we said earlier who Philly overpaid? Yeah, this is one of the more head scratching signings in my opinion. The Phillies signed starting pitcher Taijuan Walker to a 4-year, $72 million deal. $72 million for Taijuan Walker.
This dude ain't worth that.
No, Taijuan Walker he's a very serviceable pitcher in my opinion. But like, I feel like he's coming off a career best season, and it wasn't even really anything like that. But Taijuan Walker, I feel like the average Taijuan Walker season, if I were to have to discuss, would be about a 3.50 ERA. Serviceable, but nah. So, and they're paying him $72 million over 4 years. Mm, I feel like this would be maybe he would be like a $60 million pitcher if we were gonna go for 4 years. But Philly, they definitely needed to make moves, and he was one of the better available pitchers in the market. I guess that was in their price range, so I could see why it happened. But I think he was straight up overpaid.
Hey, I'm all for it. Honestly, Braves like to touch this guy up, so keep him in the NL East, and I'm happy with it. Especially you can stay on one of the two teams in the NL East who I don't like. So, um, this is a real head scratcher too to me. I don't think he's worth this much money. Really, when I saw this, my first opinion or my first thought was, "What the hell is the Philly doing?"
Yeah, like
Because this is a lot of money. There's another deal for a pitcher who's kind of in the same boat as him that we'll talk about later. Not this week, next week's episode, but there's been a lot of questionable signings this offseason to and people have gotten a lot more money than they deserve, to be honest, and it's kind of crazy.
Philadelphia definitely overpaid straight up with this. But speaking of a solid deal, I feel like that went down. The St. Louis Cardinals picked up Wilson Contreras for a 5-year, $87.5 million contract. Wilson Contreras is coming off of an insane season. Not gonna lie to you, he went off this past season. And the Cardinals, they just lost their longtime catcher in Yadier Molina. He retired. And to be honest with you, even though Yadi was elite with the glove always, this is a upgrade. This is an upgrade straight up. The bat, huge upgrade, and Contreras is solid behind the plate from what I recall. Probably nothing crazy, but yeah, no Yadi, but with the bat, no Yadi as well, which is a good thing. Yeah, Cardinals definitely staying in the mix. They're in a weaker division, so staying in the mix isn't too hard for them. And I don't necessarily expect them just off of this move to be considered a top contender, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it's a big pickup. I feel like Wilson Contreras. But that season that Wilson Contreras just had, he honestly it exceeded my expectations. The class of catcher I feel like that he was at before, and now it's just he definitely took a step up and got a decent amount of money, but um I'm not going to say he was underpaid or anything like that, but I feel like the Cardinals got a solid deal on this.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he was worth a little more. I think he was worth at least 20 a year. Like you said, defensively, or not like you said, but I will say I think this is a major downgrade defensively. Wilson Contreras, in my opinion, is not the best defensive catcher. Now, I will say he is a lot better than his brother. We'll get to him in a second, but his arm is extremely good and his blocking is good, but is pretty good. But I mean, his arms isn't accurate, and he's not very good at getting base runners or throwing out base runners. So that would be the only thing I would say is really a downgrade, because ain't no one running on Yachty. That dude had one of the highest or lowest stolen base percentages against him. So I really do like this signing. Just adds another powerful bat to this already solid lineup. So Cardinals doing everything they can to stay atop of that division. Don't know if this really puts them over the top into a contender. We'll have to wait and see about that, but definitely a solid signing for the St. Louis Cardinals.
I know we took a brief intermission from dumb signings, but right back to it. We were giving the Mets a lot of credit for their moves, but what the hell is this? Brandon Nimmo, 8 years, $162 million. Not going to lie to you, as much as the money surprises me,
It's the years.
8 years. 8 years for Brandon Nimmo's not like that. That's not a guy you secure for long term, in my opinion. And 162 million? Nah. I really don't have too much to say because if I did go on about it, I'd be spewing a whole lot of negativity, and I don't want to hold that in my heart. But I just feel like this is one of the dumbest signings for sure, because it's especially the years. 8 years. No, I wouldn't like a guy like Brandon Nimmo. I feel like he'd be in a Hunter Renfroe role more so, like bouncing around on teams, to be honest with you. But no, he's a Met for life, basically.
I'm not gonna lie, Brandon Nimmo is a guy who I really would like on my team. He's your prototypical leadoff hitter. He gets on base a lot, doesn't strike out a lot, solid defender. He's gonna hit about probably 15 home runs a year when he stays healthy to 20. But I mean, he's just someone who I kind of figured he would get like a 2 to 3 year deal with maybe like $50 million. I never would have thought Brandon Nimmo would get an 8 year, $162 million. But the Mets see something in him that other clubs didn't. I know a lot of clubs were actually interested in Brandon Nimmo. But this is really questionable deal. They got their center fielder for the future, I guess, or right field, wherever the hell he plays now. But I'll just say the one thing I don't like about Brandon Nimmo is this dude sprints to the dugout after he strikes out and sprints to first base after he walks. And like, dude, like, come on, you're a professional. At this point, you don't need to be doing that. I know it sets a good example for younger kids and stuff, but that shit pisses me off.
Yeah, I feel that. It's not a big deal to me, but it's definitely something I would see, and I'd be like, "Oh, what the? How you doing that?" Like, it's like that's one of those little things. So I definitely feel that. And plus, he's on a
He's on the
rival.
Mets too.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
also on the Mets, so I mean,
So
it makes it even worse.
yeah, exactly. But this signing right here, this is what we alluded to earlier. Trey Turner broke the market, and because of that, Xander Bogaerts got a $280 million deal for 11 years with the San Diego Padres. And don't get me wrong, Xander is a premier shortstop. He's one of the better bats in the shortstop market, and he's definitely one of the better shortstops, like a prolific name in the league. But damn, I was not expecting this dude to get $280 million. To be honest with you, this is damn near 80 to $100 million more than I expected him to get. So Xander, I do not blame him for taking that. I would have been like, what? Give me that pen right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is San Diego. Interesting move. And it makes me question what's their plan with Tatis when he's back?
I think Tatis will be traded. I think he will
Yeah.
waive that no trade clause that he has. I'm pretty sure he has one on that, and I'm pretty sure that they are tired of his antics and everything. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to be getting something with him, maybe next offseason. But to talk about this, Boston Red Sox fans, I'm sorry, y'all's GM just must not like winning baseball games because getting rid of Mookie, getting rid of Xander Bogaerts, not keeping John Lester about 5 to 6 years, or not 5 to 6, like 8 to 10 years ago. I know all three of those have been a big deal now, and I don't blame it. I mean, these are franchise players. These are guys who, like John Lester, went on to win a World Series elsewhere. He did win one with Boston, which was nice, but I mean, Boston fans, I just feel for you a lot. San Diego, I guess, really wanted Xander. Bogarts' defense has really declined the past few seasons. But I mean, that bat is not the power. It's not the power that really gets to me. It's the contact, not even the
Yeah.
contact. He just doesn't strike out a lot. He
Mhm.
gets on base a lot. He's going to put the ball in play and make you make a play to get him out. That's just what I really like about Bogarts. And Padres. They've done a lot this offseason too. They've done a lot in the in season last year to get players. So this is one of the more scary teams going into next year. It's just going to be all about that pitching now at this point.
Yeah, the Padres are real close. But speaking on that Tatis that you mentioned earlier, I would love for the Yankees to go ahead and sign him. I know, he is not the most loved player right now in baseball, but he can definitely change it up in pinstripes, man. Come on, Tatis, you know you want to. But I think obviously, with his stock being down and us having some solid prospects, we've got Dominguez, Volpe, and Peraza. Um, we can make it happen if it really got to that point. I think that'd be a huge pickup, but that doesn't matter because Tatis is suspended as of right now, so we're not going to see him on the field for some time.
To be honest, I don't even really know if you would even want Tatis there in New York because, I mean, he's probably going to have to cut his hair first off, and I don't think he would do that. So, and his beard and everything. So, I mean, it would be a whole culture shock, I think, for Tatis up there. And to be honest, I don't think he could last in New York. New York is very, very harsh. So, I think he'd be in his feelings a bit. So, that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. That's definitely the culture shock part with it too. Uh, Tatis being young, rebellious, and then a team being that strict, it probably wouldn't work out so well. But as for this last move that we're going to be discussing for this episode, I really want to hand this one off to Alex. This is a Brave special right here. Like he said, they haven't been very active, but this is a move that they made really recently.
This has made me think that Alex Anthopoulos has something even bigger in store for us, to be honest. Yesterday, we traded for Sean Murphy, catcher from the Oakland Athletics, arguably the best defensive catcher in all of baseball. Solid bat. Kind of came around with it last year. Um, but this is a really interesting trade. We traded, I think, 6 prospects away. We traded our number one prospect in left-handed pitcher Kyle Mueller. Sucks to see him go. He spent a little time up with us in the bigs last year. We traded away catcher William Contreras to the Milwaukee Brewers. That really kind of sucks, to be honest. I wish it was Azuna instead. um, and then we also traded Manny Pena, which many people may not know, but he had wrist surgery at the beginning of the year and missed the rest of the season. But we traded him to Oakland. But the 4 prospects that we traded away, or 5 prospects we traded away, I'm not really too concerned about. I don't think many of them would have done much in the future anyway, since we have so many people locked up. But I'm waiting for that extension for Sean Murphy. When's it coming? It seems like it's gonna happen here soon. I know all Braves fans I was on Twitter today and all Braves fans were speculating a 7-year deal is gonna be coming for Sean Murphy, but we'll have to see about that. We have 3 more years of control of Sean Murphy, so there's not much we need to do with that right now. But I absolutely love this trade. Catcher defense has been horrible, absolutely horrible for us the past 3 to 4 years, and this is a major upgrade. We may actually be able to catch people stealing now.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge pickup for you guys because it's like you said, you guys got a lot of people locked up. But that was definitely something that needed to be addressed, even though it's a bit of a minor thing when you're talking about things teams need to address. Like usually we're talking about, oh, you got to fill up the bullpen or you need another arm for the starting rotation or a big bat. But nah, uh, defense behind the plate. Even though it's not talked about as much, that is definitely something that's huge, and that filled this gap and then some because Sean Murphy, elite with the glove. And like you said, coming around with the bat, it's a respectable bat, especially for a catcher. So, dub pickup for you guys. Really nice pickup. And yeah, you guys gave up a hefty amount of people, but yeah, Sean Murphy, he's solid. That's all I really got to say. And I really love the jab at Ozuna. I know you feel a certain way about Ozuna.
Dude, it's why the hell did we pay him that much damn money? And he's been an ass since then, and then all the off the field issues, like, I just want the dude gone. Like, he didn't produce it all last year. I mean, dude got booed coming up to the plate for like the first 15 at bats. Like, you don't think the organization should have looked at it at that point. I mean, I know it's a business at the end of the day, and it's a lot of money to just outright cut him, but I don't care. Please just get him off the team. He's a waste of a roster spot right now.
Yeah, I feel that, but I don't know. I feel like the Braves definitely making some solid moves. You guys just got a really nice front office, really smart front office. The way you guys execute, and the Sean Murphy trade, that's just another example of it. But
Get the Dansby deal done now. I don't want to see him in Dodger blue.
I feel that. I definitely feel that. But that does it for some trade talk for this week. We still definitely have some more to talk about.
We got
But
a
we
lot more to talk about.
yeah. But no,
This isn't
so
even close to all the signings. This
true.
is just like all the major signings that were over like 50 million.
Yeah, and it was really fun to talk about the major ones, but there's still a whole lot to look forward to as teams, decide to fill out spots that they want situated before we get into next season. But looking forward to talking about some other signings next week. But this week was really the one we had full of so many names, and this offseason has just been really fun in general.
And it's also just been fun in general just to get back to talking to some baseball. I know we took it off for about a month. We didn't plan on that. It's just some things have come up, but we are back and we have a lot of things planned too. So stay tuned to that. And that does it for another episode of the All It Takes No Whiffs podcast. Had a little more lengthy episode this time, but it's because we had a lot to talk about and we just love baseball that much. But before we get out of here, make sure y'all like, make sure y'all subscribe, make sure y'all turn on notifications to know when we post new content, and let us know who your favorite signing has been this offseason, who your teams have signed, and where you want to see some of these guys go. And let me know where you think Dansby's going to go, because I need that guy to re-sign with us ASAP.
And if you guys want, you can let us know why you think it's Aaron Judge being the best signing. You can let us know that on any of our social medias. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at ATNW Podcast. If you want, you can find my personal Instagram and Twitter at Christian_S52.
And you find mine at ahendy2215.